We're going to be talking with Victoria Bogner. She's Allworth's head of wealth strategy. She's going to share with us a story about how she helps somebody navigate a somewhat complicated situation. So,
these are my favorite part of the show.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking the other day, like we should do more of these, like little kind of more narrow, because our phone calls are I mean, I enjoy the parts when people call in the show, but sometimes there's these stories that are the intricacies are a little more interesting that they don't pop up in your everyday. But our advisors work with them on a daily basis.
Which is actually why. I'm from a creative standpoint, when I hear these stories, I always think, would I have approached it the same way? So let's talk with Victoria.
Yeah, so Victoria, thanks for joining us.
Hi there. Yeah, I would be interested to hear if you approach it the same way, too.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
There's more than one way to skin a cat, right?
Well, that is true. I think one of the benefits about working in a large organization on complicated matters, we are very collaborative and talk with other advisors and get others' opinions, and then have the CPAs come in and
sign
collaborate.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so what? Tell us about a situation you worked with a client and what they were trying to accomplish and what happened.
Yeah, so we recently had a client. She held about $1.2 million in a very popular tech stock. And she had been a long-term investor in this position. So her cost basis was impressively low. And this particular stock didn't really pay much of a dividend. It was like 0.73%, which amounted to about $8,000 per year
And
for her.
How much
she
was
really
this?
needed.
How much was this of her overall net worth? So, I mean, if she's $10 million, maybe it's not a big deal having $1 million in stock. If it's her net worth $1.5 million, then it's problematic having 1.2 in one stock.
Yeah, her overall net worth was about $3 million. So this was a significant portion of her net worth.
And how old was she?
Yes.
Is she? What?
She was only in her 50s.
Okay.
So pretty young. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So she needed more income because she had
is 50s young now?
Who doesn't? I think it's young.
Yeah, the older you get,
just
the
trying
younger
to make
it
you
is.
feel good today. Yeah, but she needed some income to pay for college expenses for her kids. But she didn't want to sell any of the stock shares because, of course, she'd have to pay some capital gains tax. And also, she had been in this stock a long time. She was emotionally invested in it. She thought they had great long-term prospects. So essentially what we did is we explored a covered call strategy. Oh, go ahead.
So I'm interested to hear how you built the strategy, but had you considered just gifting some portion of the stock to the child and then having the child sell? And
that was a strategy that we looked at, but out of everything we analyzed, this strategy I'm going to tell you about ended up being the best outcome.
Good. That's why I'm because to finish down that strategy, because this is the right thing in some situations, right? You can transfer some assets to a child. The child sells them. The child has low income. They're a college student. They may have no job, let's say, and you avoid capital gain tax, or you pay at a very low rate. That's a
lower
strategy.
rate. Yeah, correct. That is a strategy, and you do it over multiple years.
Yes, that can work sometimes.
Yep.
But that's not what you did.
That can work.
You did a covered call
strategy. That's not what we did.
Yeah.
Right, because she didn't want to sell the stock. She wanted to keep it. You know, she had bought this stock, let's say something like 30 years ago. Like, what is this fruit going to do? And then lo and behold, she caught on to a huge winner, as we all know today. So we did a covered call strategy. Essentially, we used the shares that she already owned to sell options contracts that gave someone else the right to buy the stock from her at a price about 12% higher than it was trading at. So those were structured over a rolling 4 to 6 months.
So let's assume the stock's priced at $100 a share, and so she went into these contracts that gave someone the right to buy the stock for $112 a share in the next 4 to 6 months. Is that right?
Correct. And we added a provision to make sure her stock wasn't actually sold if the price did go up more than 12%.
So you put
that's a provision that we can add.
Okay, so you collared it.
We didn't call her. We just did a covered call strategy because she wanted income.
Okay.
So no floor on it.
Oh, got
and
it.
it generated about $90,000 a year in income from those call premiums without having to sell any of the stock.
Okay.
And wow.
Go ahead.
So this strategy, she was comfortable with the risk, assuming the company stock price could fall from the situation 100 to 50 or whatever. She was comfortable with the downside.
Right.
She's trying to figure out, how do I get some income? So essentially, she sold a right for someone to buy the shares at a price 12% higher than they're currently worth.
Right. And these particular ones we bought over it covers the next 120 days.
Okay.
So if the stock goes up more than 12% over the next 120 days, then she's capped out basically at that 12% growth.
Got it.
But in exchange for that, she got money because she sold this option to somebody. And in exchange, they paid her money. And this will end up being about $90,000 a year of income for selling that option.
No, what?
So, yes,
So what if the price of the
ahead.
stock went to, and I know you don't know the number off the top, but if the stock shot up to $140 a share?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had a provision in there where she actually still got to carry the stock. There was a cost to it, though.
Correct. Yes. So she would basically have to buy that option back at a higher price than she sold it for to close out the original.
Right. So
option,
I just wanted to bring this because there's never a free lunch, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch. Yeah. So
correct. There's no free lunch.
Yeah. She gets $90,000, but if the stock, some phenomenal report came out, stock suddenly shot up from 100 to 140, it's going to cost her a big chunk.
Yeah, it might cost her $150,000 to buy herself out of that position.
Well, she would still get the gain of that first 12%.
The first 12%.
She basically wouldn't be participating in the gain above 12% for whatever length of time is left in that options contract.
Yes.
Is basically how it works. But that's why we structured these over about a 4-month window. So it's not 12 months if it goes up 12%. It's only 4 months.
So
right?
the stock I'm just trying to get some clarity for our listeners here. The stock goes from 100 to 140. It's not costing her anything. Well, the only cost is she wasn't able to enjoy the appreciation of the stock above 112.
What it's costing her is that she capped it.
Yes,
she capped that growth in that 4-month period to just 12%. But she's also getting the options premium, right?
That's
which
right.
ends up being about another 8% of income per year on top of the 12.
Which is what she needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's participating in growth. She's not triggering any capital gains tax. And she didn't want to sell the stock. So it worked out great. And it's a great example of how we align the strategy with the client's goals. And we didn't fight her preferences, right? We worked with them.
Right.
Yeah, and you don't have to do this forever. It's not forever. When the kid graduates, from college in 7 years. You could quit doing it. Quit doing it with a bachelor's. You could quit doing this. You could just let the stock fly naked.
That's right. And now an obvious question might be, why not just sell $90,000 worth of Microsoft stock to generate that
she didn't
income?
want to.
Because she didn't want to, first of all. But let's say that she was okay with that. Well, we ran the math on that, as we do. And because, she still had the underlying stock and it was left intact to grow, basically you're just skimming some income off the top because of that option premium you're receiving. So that means you still have that underlying stock that's growing and you're getting income. So when you do the math, you're coming out ahead by using this strategy as opposed to just selling tranches of stock as you go.
But we should point out that there is more risk in this than selling a tranche of stock.
That's right.
Because you sell a tranche of stock,
That's correct.
You know the outcome. The outcome is defined.
And she could also use some contracts to give her downside protection.
Correct.
She could take some of the
she was worried about the risk.
She could take some of the $90,000 she receives from the other contract to use this for a protection.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. And that's a
Covered
strategy
call.
we use a lot for people that have a huge stock position. They don't want to sell it because of the capital gains. So what we can do is sell that option, like in this example, to get some premium, and then take that money to buy the option to sell
That's
the
right.
stock at a specific price.
And this works
So
well.
we're basically creating a floor. Yeah.
And that strategy can work really well when someone their net worth's tied up in one particular company. They're getting later. They know they need to diversify. They don't want to diversify in 1 year because the taxes are going to clobber them. They might have a strategy to diversify over the next several years, and they use this as a way to reduce their risk.
You know what's happening?
Or eliminate the risk even.
The family offices services are coming to the middle class. This is exactly what's happening.
Yes, they are.
Technology.
A lot of those. Exactly. A lot of these things that used to be exclusive to ultra high net worth, now the regular investor, for lack of a better term, can get behind that velvet rope as well.
That's right. Middle and when you say, well, what is middle class? Maybe it's upper middle class, but it's not family office. Where a family office, you might need $100 million to actually be in part of a family office, and you get these exclusive services, which, by the way, were quite expensive at one point in time. But because of technology, the cost associated with it is coming down significantly.
Someone with $1 million of a particular stock.
Where before you wouldn't employ this unless you had maybe $5 or $10 million 10 years ago. And so what happens is if you've got an advisor, if you have an advisor, it was a scheme with a friend of mine who had sold his business, and he kept giving the money to the same advisor. And I said, what kind of tax strategy is this guy using on your new money? Because it's new money and there's lots of... And he said, well, we just make sure we don't pay a lot in taxes. I said, that's not a strategy. I mean, there's that's not it. But
there's no excuse anymore.
Tax
that's right.
planning, that's such a huge lever that you can pull. So it's imperative that your advisor be talking with you about a tax strategy.
That's right.
If you have anything more than $2 million in net worth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Victoria, thanks for taking a little time.
Thanks for being part of the team.
Yes, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's interesting, Pat. When how much I just think even in the last 5 years, the technology that
we talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago. It's mind-boggling. It truly is mind-boggling.
But I write an opinion piece for Investment News every few weeks. It's none of our listeners would be reading it because it's for the industry, and you would be bored quickly because most of it is it's all about industry stuff. But my article, the premise of it was that the small advisors is going away. And 3 years ago, if you would have asked me, Scott, do you think the small independent advisor, and most of these independent advisors started out at some larger firm, they didn't like the conflicts of interest, they started their own little shop, fee only, fiduciary, line interest, right? There's maybe 2 people and a couple assistants.
Like us.
That's how we started. And 3 years ago, I would have said, there'll always be a place for those small advisors.
I would have said the same thing.
And I don't believe so anymore. And the reason, technology has made it so that we can do so much more, so quicker, for so much less money, that it's going to be impossible for a small independent shop to keep up.
And there will be companies.
I mean, you think about...
There will be companies that fill the void are trying to actually bring, almost like franchises where they actually bring a platform to these companies, the small advisors. There will be companies that try to...
But they're going to have to be part of some other team that provides... I mean, I just think about our own organization, Pat, the team on our technology team, and what is technology department anymore? Like, what does that even mean? Because everything's technology. It runs through everything, and they're really business applications, right? When you think about it. But there's so many different business applications that we're looking at. So much of it is client-facing, and you've got to figure out what are the best ones out there today. How do they communicate with everything else? How do we do all this planning? And it takes a team to bolt all these things together.
Yeah.
That's why I think, how in the world's a small...
Well, but the reality is, look, if you've had the same advisor for 10, 15 years, and you like he or she or they, don't be afraid to ask for more services, and if there's other ways they can do it, they might have the ability.
Well, and there are some firms that literally state right on their website, we do not provide tax advice,
which is crazy.
I'm like, well, how do you make an investment decision without taking advantage of the taxes?
Yeah. But if we all get so good at not paying taxes, won't we all end up paying more taxes?
Well, you got to stay one step ahead.